I just realized I was on webcam. Okay, so when we look at the insurance on these, we buy insurance as a whole to insure the entire property. For property repair, replacement, and also for general liability. So if people trip and fall at the property, everybody pitches in together to buy the master insurance policy for the property. Now, if a condominium gets destroyed in a hurricane, like we saw this past week, your insurance will take care of your unit, but the condominium insurance will take care of the entire building. Somehow or another, the entire building has to be rebuilt again. And then you're going to use your money, your own insurance, to rebuild your interior unit. So everybody works together to insure and run the property. Your conveyance rights are just like they are for a house. You convey with a deed, you sell it like you do a deed, you put it for sale with a realtor, sell by owner, whatever you want to do. But you're going to go through the transaction in a condominium very much like selling a house. The only other issue is when you sell a condominium, there's CC&Rs. The rules and regulations about how you can live there. And all of those, it's usually several hundred pages. So when you sell, not only do you give a deed to the next person, you're giving them a copy of the CC&Rs of how the organization is run. What are the rules? Townhouses. It's a style of housing in which most units are built 1, 2, or 3-story design with units sharing common walls. They have party walls. So your legal description will go to the middle of the common wall. Middle wall, or to the end of the unit if you're on the end. Townhouses very often are condos, but if we have like a 2-family, that would be a townhouse. See a lot of that in Chicago, New York, New Jersey, where it's just 2 families where they share the common party wall. Together, they have to agree on how to do things, but if it's just a 2-family, each one insures their own side. Each one does the maintenance on their own side. We hope they come to an agreement when it's time to do the roof. But you can see 2 different roofs on. They don't always agree. They don't always work together as a pair. They literally try to run their things separately. Townhouses are created through a master deed, again known as Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, the CCRs. Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, and the execution of bylaws. Again, this is when we have more than just a 2-family, more than just 2 units. We have the CC&Rs. Again, the insurance covers the unit and all outdoor areas to which the owner received title. Co-ops. The entire building is owned by a single cooperative corporation. So when you buy a unit, you don't get a deed. You don't own the floor space. You get a proprietary lease. You own a stock share, a share interest in the entire co-op unit. Then you get a proprietary lease that says you have a long-term exclusive use of that space. With that long-term exclusive use, you're allowed to remodel, you're allowed to make changes like it was a condo, but the building is owned by the corporation. It's not owned by the individuals. It's owned by the whole. With co-ops, very often, you don't sell on the open market on the street. The co-op organization has the first right to buy. With co-ops, they can do a lot of discrimination. Co-ops look at people for their net worth, they look at their jobs, they look at their character. They do all kinds of things when they're judging who their neighbor is going to be. Very many famous actors and actresses are denied the ability to live in co-ops in New York because people don't want the paparazzi hanging outside their fence. They don't want people watching everybody come and go all their activities. When John Lennon was killed in his high-rise in New York, that also made a fearful thing where people didn't want famous people living near them because they didn't want people to be hounding the place. They didn't want stalkers to be there. So again, lots of discrimination can take place through this whole co-op sale organization, and you have a hard time proving it because there's so many elements of when they'll allow somebody in. The creation of co-op is through articles of incorporation, and there's bylaws. The bylaws are the rules of how you live there. Who's on the board of directors? It's a corporation that owns it, so you have a board of directors. In co-ops, you also have condos. You also have a board of directors, that people elect, but it's a little different than the corporation. You still have the same kind of powers. You have to run it. Everybody that works, that is the people on the board, the president, the secretary, treasurer, whatever, they have a fiduciary duty to all the residents at the place they're living. So they're trying to run and manage it. Very often, though, they hire property managers because they just don't get how to run it all and how to make it operate. And very often, when you have a large co-op condominium building, you have elevators, you have parking garages, you have landscaping, you have roofs, you have different elements of the building that have to be taken care of. Very much like managing a large high-rise office building, that you have things you got to take care of. And again, most people, the common everyday resident, doesn't know how to get those services, doesn't understand buying those services or bidding those services. Co-ops, you have building operating costs, a maintenance fee. They're financed by a single mortgage loan obtained by the corporation itself, and then the sale has to be approved by the board of directors. If you live in Chicago, New York, and Florida, you say you want to get a mortgage on a co-op, down there people say, sure, I can tell you exactly how to do it, I can tell you who will help you do it. If you're in Ohio and you say you want to get a mortgage on a co-op, people are going to look at you like you got three heads. They will find a specialist, but we don't have a lot of co-ops in the Ohio market, especially in southern Ohio. It's just a different form of ownership. Timeshares. It's a form of ownership, a right to use the particular property, particular time of year, particular number of weeks a year, a particular place. Years ago, as little girls, we'd go on vacation and we'd go see these timeshare. We'd get a free dinner or a free ability to stay at the place for a few days. As we were traveling to Florida every year, my dad would have a trip to a timeshare in Tennessee or somewhere in Florida to get a few of the days of our vacation paid for. And we'd go listen to the spiel. And what they did back then is when you bought timeshare, you were always buying to come back to that place. Today, the way timeshares are organized, lots of corporations own timeshares. You can buy into a timeshare and you can literally travel all over the world for the 2 weeks, 3 weeks out of the year that you're allowed to use it. You're not stuck to going to just one place. You can go to a timeshare any place that this corporation owns. So it's a lot more convertible today, a lot easier to use. But in 2008, 9, and 10, when we had housing crisis, people lost a lot of value in their homes, lost jobs, a lot of people decided they didn't want their timeshares anymore. It was a luxury. So the market got flooded with timeshares. Today you can go online and buy and sell timeshares. You can go directly to the corporation that creates it, but you can also go online. You can see secondary sellers of it for pennies on the dollar still. There's ways to get timeshares for cheap. Again, if you want to be able to guarantee that you're going to be able to have a vacation 2 or 3 weeks out every year, some people like the idea of a timeshare. It makes them take a vacation and they know that part of it's paid for. But they're paying for the 2 or 3 weeks a year of a mortgage, of the care of the unit, and that's all part of that cost. And they'll pay for it over the year with mortgage-type payments. There's conveyance rights, subject to terms of timeshare agreement. It can be conveyed by deed, will, or intestate, so it can pass from generation to generation. And it's a very regulated industry, and it's regulated state by state. Again, this is that commerce that's going back and forth, interstate commerce, so they're very regulating how these timeshares are sold and managed. Hotel condominiums, a portion of the hotel is owned as a condominium units, but they can also be used by hotel guests. The owners benefit from the use of services offered at the hotel, and they retain the rights and responsibilities of condominium. So within the condo, some of the units can be hotel pieces. My kid's building the Tano Bistro up in Loveland, just reopened, and they're going to have 2 apartments in the building when they rebuilt it, and they're going to be Airbnb apartments, so that they can have people coming in downtown Loveland to stay at the Airbnb, rather than apartments that are just rented all the time. They're going to let traveling people come in and out of the apartments. Again, it's something they thought about as investors of the building, to let that residential component exist that way rather than having full-time residents. You have a property owners association. So homeowners associations are commonly engaged in planned communities, and the association owns the common area. They take care of the common area. They maintain the pool. They mow the lawns. They do the planting in spring and fall at the front entrance. They hire companies that do that kind of work.
Library.
Yeah. There's regulated, again, how the organizations and associations are run. There's a declaration that gets recorded. So if you're doing title search on this stuff, you're trying to sell a house in one of these homeowner associations, when they're doing the title search, they're going to find, even the resident, you may approach them and they might not even realize, they forget they're part of a homeowner association. They forget they pay a fee every now and then, or their fees paid. Most people know about it, but not all the time. Or when you're selling estate houses, getting involved in the business. The way they'll find this is through title search. All of the stuff is recorded. The association has powers to issue rules regulating the common area usage. They provide rules regulating ownership. The declaration can establish committees, such as architectural landscaping committees, to review the proposed modifications. They can resolve disputes, again, they're their own little court and jury there. They can do monetary penalties, they can do liens, and they can foreclose on a property. If you don't pay your condo fees become a lien. The condo association can foreclose on you. Most condo associations let you get pretty far behind in the money that you owe before they want to do a foreclosure. Most condo associations don't have money to buy the units. They don't want to be ownership of the units. But if they have to buy it, take it back through a foreclosure so they can get fees that are due them, they'll do it. They have the power and the authority to be able to do that and kick people out. And then what they do is they'll keep the fees, and then the remaining money would go to the family that was part of it to satisfy the debt. They have standards of review. Courts will look at the board's rules and regulations, make sure that they're reasonable. Again, co-ops are kind of hard to stop discrimination, but they're still going to be looking at the reasonable use of what they're doing. And then also a business judgment rule that permits judicial deference to board actions. So if somebody's not satisfied with the way the board is ruling, they can basically take the board to court and say, I want this to be a court case. I want it to be heard in court. And things happen. They have a fiduciary duty. Like I said, they have to act with loyalty and good faith for the promotion of the members' interests. They also have liability. Can accrue from the ownership of an individual lot, condo, or townhouse, as well as common area. Homeowner is liable for all harm caused by their intentional or negligent acts. Any place you live, you work, you do something, if you are intentionally doing negligent acts, you're going to be found the problem of that. I had a lady that tripped and fell on a sidewalk a few weeks ago. She broke her cell phone. What was she doing? I was one of those. I actually did that one day when I was walking a couple weeks ago. I broke my cell phone. But I wasn't walking in the store. I didn't go in and say, oh, you guys owe me something because I damaged this. When she was walking and talking on the cell phone, she tripped over the curb. So the question is how guilty is the property? How guilty is this person because they shouldn't be walking and talking on a cell phone while they're moving through a property? Again, so we have insurance investigators that are going to go back and ask those questions. What were they doing? Why did the phone drop? Obviously because they were using it. They weren't paying attention to where they were going, what they were doing. Me, I wasn't even on my phone. I was just carrying it, and I fell. But, again, anytime you do something intentionally to hurt yourself, you're going to have some liability with that. The association is liable if the injury occurs in the common area. So the association, again, is buying an insurance policy for the entire common area of the property. Again, property management is going to do the administration, operation, management of real property. A lot of people get suckered into these boards, again, because they didn't move away fast enough. They got volunteered for it. And when you live in a small community where there's 12 or 15 units, if you live there for a period of time, you're going to end up on a board. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be part of a board. But again, most people don't want to have to manage it. They want to hire a property manager to actually manage and do stuff. They're overseeing what the property manager is doing. The property manager is the association or board of directors agent. They're acting as the agent for them. They have services they offer 24/7. They can educate community boards of directors. They assist in establishing annual budgets. They can conduct the elections. They retain contractors to to make necessary repairs, like a typical property manager would do for any multi-unit high-rise building or anything like that. They're there on the ball to take care of stuff. They get compensated based on a fee, and the costs are part of the monthly assessments. They can get so many dollars per unit, or they can get a percentage of overall fees collected. Commercial property managers assist in marketing and leasing the property on the owner's behalf, so there's more things that they can do. And they can also take care of managing daily operations and financial reporting. So when property managers, our regular business is to be able to do financial reporting. We have software where we can do the financial reporting for this. We're going to be ready in a couple minutes for the test.
I'll be back.
Yep. Licensure. Most states regulate property management by including activities such as leasing, negotiating or making lease offers, and renting their real estate licenses statutes. So anytime you're doing this, you're acting as fiduciary for somebody else, you have to be licensed. That's one of the rules. We're getting ready to hire somebody in Illinois to help out with properties there. She has an Illinois, she used to have a leasing license. It's not the same as a sales license. She let it go years ago. Part of her hiring with our company, she's going to have 120 days to get her real estate license. If she doesn't get it, she'll be let go. But that's because she's going to be managing a shopping center and other properties for us. We expect her to get her real estate license. Again, that's all part of the whole thing. States lack uniformity as to whether property manager exempt from real estate licensure. For the most part, they actually want to be licensed because you're acting as a fiduciary for somebody else. You're not always signing documents, but you're negotiating on their behalf. And that ends this chapter. Any questions about, again, condos, co-ops? Okay, so when you get involved in the sale of these, understand there's going to be CC&Rs. If you have a homeowners association, expect to see a large document in the sale transaction. Somewhere you got to get familiar with what's going on with this place you're trying to sell.